Hello everyone, I'm Food for Dogs, and I wanted to do a really quick Atelier video. I've just had a question pop up on Twitter asking me what so many people have asked me before, and every time I start typing out a message and it gets really long and my fingers get really tired, so I thought, wouldn't it be great just to have a short video that I could point people to whenever I get asked the question? There are so many Atelier games. Where do I start? Please recommend something. Well, of course, that is really difficult to do if you don't know the person and their tastes in games. There are two things I want to mention today, 2 points that should make it quite easy for you to decide which game to pick up. The first point I want to make is to reassure you that all Atelier games are standalone stories. They are self-contained, and you therefore don't have to worry about playing something strictly in sequence. I've never done that really, and it's never impacted my enjoyment or how I've understood a story. While Atelier games usually come in trilogies, all that means is that the games within a trilogy share a very general theme and the same type of world, in very broad terms. Within the trilogy, you can start really with any story you like. If you want to get the full experience, it probably makes sense to start with the first one. If you're happy doing that, that's great. You don't have to, but it's a nice way to do it, I agree. What are the trilogies? What can you choose from? Just very quickly, I'll start with the earliest one. I look at what's available on current gen platforms, and Atelier games, you take your pick. You can play them on the PS4, on PC and on the Switch. I don't think all Atelier games have been ported to the Switch yet, but a lot of them have, so you have a good choice available. PlayStation would be the broadest choice because they're all on there. So we'll start with the Arland trilogy, which first came out on PS3, and we have 3 games there, obviously a trilogy. Atelier Rorona. The second one is Atelier Toturi, and as you can see, they've all got Arland in the title, The Adventure of Arland, this one is called, and the third one is called The Apprentice of Arland, Atelier Meruru. Meruru is just a slightly different title in that it integrates some town building elements. If you enjoy that sort of thing, Meruru might well be your game. Some people don't like town building sims, so in that case just skip it, Atelier games are very forgiving in that sense. You're not being forced or funneled through them in a particular way. Okay, the second trilogy, my favourite up to this date, I'll have to say, is the Dusk trilogy. So we have the first title in the Dusk trilogy is Atelier Aisha. The second one is Eska and Logi. And the third one is Atelier Shelley. Now at this point I want to start talking about the second issue that needs mentioning, and I think this is the really crucial one, that will decide for most people whether they're happy starting with an earlier game or a later Atelier game. And that is the issue of time management. A lot of people, especially in the West, do not like strict time management. It's something that impacts their enjoyment. Personally, perfectly fine with time management, and I've learned to really enjoy it, but not everybody does. So in that case, I would say that starting with the Arland trilogy would probably be not such a good move. The Arland trilogy contains the typical older Atelier time management where you have to complete tasks within a time frame, and if you don't manage to complete most of them, you won't be well set up to move on to the next stage of the story. If that doesn't appeal to you, then don't start with the Arland series. However, once we move into the Dusk series, and remember I've got the old PS3 copies, but you can get these on PS4 and on other platforms. Atelier Aisha still has a time management, so probably not a good one to start with either if you don't like that. Atelier Eska and Logi is a sort of mixed bag in terms of time management. I would say it's still there, but it's not quite as strict as in the older games. And by the time we come to Atelier Chalet, the time management is heavily diluted. It is still there, but it is so benign that I would say it won't cause you any trouble. And I'll just tell you a little story about how they've done it in Atelier Chalet, because it's quite funny, and I don't think a lot of people have come across it. But of course, I like to push the boundaries, and I discovered in Atelier Chalet, if you hang around in a chapter and just think, well, I just want to keep going round doing quests, doing my alchemy, picking up items, battling the enemies here and there to get good drop items, and you just go round and round doing that, and you're really enjoying it, and you're thinking, oh, I don't feel like going on to the next chapter, and you're just idling away time there. A lot of games would either punish you for that, or they would put up a big flag, you know, a bit like a bully, saying, you can't do this, you need to move on to the next chapter now. Well, the good people at Gus don't work like that. What they've done in Chalet is they simply slow you down gradually, physically. You find as you walk along, your pace is getting slower, and in the end, it's like moving through molasses. You simply cannot move very fast, and they're telling you that way, hey, you've stuck around an awful long time in this chapter, might be time to move on. I really had to laugh about that. I thought it was so funny, and I finally got the hint and I moved on, and suddenly I thought, gosh, Shelley is moving at a clipping pace, because she was back to her normal quick step. So that shows you the attitude the developer has towards the players. They never bully and push you. They sometimes just suggest, you know, it might be a good idea to move on, or, you know, do this. But generally speaking, you have a lot of latitude in what activities you decide to do at which point. Some games are more narratively focused and push you along a storyline a bit more. Others are very open. It really depends. I've never felt like someone was standing behind me with a whip saying, get on, do this, do that. They're not like that. Most people say they find Atelier games relaxing, and I think that's really important, and that's a good point. In fact, I just today on Twitter posted about a well-known streamer called Nihongo Gamer, and he talked in one of his videos about why he loves playing Atelier Ryza, which is the latest Atelier game, as you probably have heard. And he talks a bit about this aspect of what he calls pick up and play. He can just drop into the game anytime, pick it up and play according to his own liking. He can basically do what he'd like to do in the game. You know, he's not being pushed around. And I think in these busy times when people don't always have 40 or 60 hours to spare for a really tough and streamlined RPG, this is a blessing. It's great that we have something like Atelier available. I've been talking about Atelier for many years, and I couldn't be happier to see so many people finally jumping on and realising what a fantastic game series it is and how much enjoyment it brings to so many people. So welcome to Atelier. Let's move on to the more recent trilogy, which was published on the PS4 originally, and that is the Mysterious trilogy. The first game is called Atelier Sophie, and that is subtitled The Alchemist of the Mysterious Book. It's a wonderful story about a book that comes to life. I very much enjoy Atelier Sophie, and so do many people. It's a very, very popular entry in the Atelier game series. And if you want to start with a trilogy that doesn't have any time management system as such, then the Mysterious trilogy is a great way to start. And you can start with Atelier Sophie, and I would say that's a great one to start with. Pick up and play. The second one in the Mysterious series is Atelier Ferris, The Alchemist and the Mysterious Journey, and I'm still a bit miffed that Gus never brought out a limited edition for this in the West. Just saying. And the third game is called Atelier Lydie and Suelle, and this one I haven't played yet, so I can't really comment much about it, but it will be like most of the other Atelier games because they all follow the same format, and you think, well, that would get boring after all these years, wouldn't it? Be always playing the same thing over and over? All I can say is I've never got bored. There's always a new story, new characters, new young women to become alchemists and to train up. Gust keeps tweaking the formula. They keep bringing in new features, improving here, changing there, going with the times, and it never becomes stale. It just doesn't. Atelier is always just wonderful. That is the latest complete trilogy, the Mysterious one. A good place to start if you do not like and do not enjoy strict time management. There was another game published not so long ago, Atelier Lulua, and that's a very recent game, and again it does not have time management. However, I wouldn't recommend to start with this one for the simple reason that it's a sort of kind of sequel to the Arland series, because it picks up with the characters and the story and the world from Arland, and it helps if you're familiar with Arland when you play Lulua. Now, I've said before that you can basically jump into any Atelier game within any of the trilogies because they're self-contained stories. People sometimes feel a bit overwhelmed because there are many characters, not just the main characters that you're playing with and using in your party, but a lot of side characters pop in all the time in Atelier. And all I can say is just relax and enjoy it. They're from other games and they're coming in and you think, oh, there's some back history here. I don't know these people. You don't, but it doesn't matter. You get to know them as you play. And once you move on and play the next Atelier game, you will find that you meet that character again and suddenly you say, oh, yeah, that's who it is. Okay, oh, I see, that's their story, that's what happened there. And slowly you kind of piece it together. It's not essential for the main story, it just fills in the world and the wider background story. Think of Atelier as a huge tapestry. And there are so many strands weaving through it, and all these people are popping in and out of these games, and they're filling in the world and its background and its many stories, and you get to know them as you play the games, and that is one of the wonderful things people love about Atelier. So don't be worried about it, just embrace it really. So the most recent game is Ryza, and as you can see I've still got the sealed box. I haven't even done an unboxing yet, so I'll do that at some point. So obviously haven't played the game yet. I'm keeping that back as a treat, I suppose. I've heard so many great things about Ryza. It's obviously a wonderful game, many people enjoy. And I've heard so many people say, I picked this up as the first ever Atelier game and it's a wonderful entry point. They had no problems. It just introduces them to the Atelier world in a great way. I would say if you want to pick up an Atelier game and start, you don't have to start right back at the beginning. You don't. Pick up the latest game and try it out, or try one of the other ones. It's completely up to you. Atelier is about not fretting, about simply relaxing, making your own choices. There's no pressure. There's no pressure in picking a particular game, and if once you play the game, you're not really being pressured. Apart from the very early Atelier games, if you find time management is something that pressures you, then that's the only proviso I have. Apart from that, they're real no pressure games. Pick the one that really appeals to you and just go for it. Atelier's wonderful. I'll see you there on the Atelier side. Thank you very much for watching. Please keep well, play Atelier. I'm Food for Dogs. Bye bye.